Welcome to CED's Leadership in Challenging Times series, where we feature the outstanding business leaders who are the recipients of CED's Distinguished Leadership Awards for corporate citizenship and business stewardship. This year, CED is paying special tribute to business leaders and their company teams who have helped our nation navigate the many challenges before us, including the pandemic, an economic recovery that provides equal opportunity for all Americans, a central mission of CED, and building a more civil and just society, as well as upholding a rules-based international order. So today I have the privilege of speaking with our 2022 honoree, Penny Pennington, who is managing partner of Edward Jones, a Fortune 500 financial services firm headquartered in St. Louis. They also have branches in 68% of the counties in America and its affiliates in Canada. Edward Jones' purpose is to partner for positive impact to improve the lives of its clients, now approximately about 8 million clients, and its colleagues, and together better our communities and society, all central themes of CED's mission. Penny is one of the 44 women heading Fortune 500 firms, and only the 6th person to head the 100-year-old financial services firm. Penny, it is really a pleasure to have you with us today.
Lori, it's wonderful to be with you and your audience. We are like-minded organizations. I look forward to our conversation.
Well, let's start. You became managing partner of Edward Jones in 2019. So you had barely started in your new role before the pandemic hit, followed by the eruption of social justice movement in the wake of George Floyd's killing, and then the war in Ukraine, sending shockwaves of global disruption. Any one of those would be a major leadership challenge, and you are leading through this trifecta. I would like to discuss each of these in turn, Penny, and would like to start with the pandemic. You have stated that as a firm, Edward Jones is in an exciting period of transformation, which has been accelerated in many respects by the pandemic. What were the principal leadership tools you drew on to manage through the outbreak of the pandemic, and the most important elements of the company's transformation that have been accelerated by the pandemic?
So what we were all facing as leaders, right? A time that was already changing. 2019 was a period of change. Now it looks like a period of relative normality, but things were changing and moving. And as leaders, we are called on to help our companies continue to be effective and purpose-driven and relevant. But all of a sudden, gradually and then suddenly, all of those historic leadership lessons came to the fore, and we had to shift some things. We obviously shifted some business practices and some decisions that we made, but I think what you're asking is the fundamental nature of leadership and what we called on during that period of time. I think I'll start from the standpoint of purpose. We took that moment during 2020 to really explicitly remind ourselves of what our purpose is. We've always said that we're here to leave people and places better than we found them. We put words to that, to partner for positive impact, to improve the lives of our clients and colleagues. And we continued to return to that purpose, to our devotion to people and to communities, and yes, even to society. From that, then, we penned a set of guiding principles. It was a one-page set of guiding principles that our enterprise leadership team penned. And the reason that we did it was we said things are going to move so fast. People are going to need to make decisions close to where the work is being done. They don't need to run it up the chain. In fact, we won't have time to do that. But let's all operate against a set of guiding principles. And the number one was lead with purpose, and then remain connected to our clients, colleagues, and communities. We also knew that we weren't going to have any playbook here, right? There was no playbook for the quick decision-making that needed to happen. And one of the fundamental issues about that is that we only had about 30 or 40% of the information that we often felt like we needed to have enough information. So we had to kind of get over that and know that we had to act with urgency and boldness in the face of lack of information. We also learned that communication was critically important. Communication about what we knew and what we didn't know, and listen to people about what they were facing, listen with empathy, with compassion, and then know that it's very human-centered, a term that we use often. It's very human-centered to move forward, to take a step forward in a bold way, even without the fullness of information. And then finally, I would say just trust in a team, a great team unified around that purpose and those guiding principles. That transformation that did accelerate for us over the past 2.5 years, we had already made ambitious statements about what we wanted to do for more people in more places. And so as it related to technology, that sped up, staying connected to 8 million clients during this period of what felt like disconnection. Our technology systems really accelerated during that period of time. And then I think, Laura, I would just point to our culture of continuously learning, of a growth mindset. Was really put to the test and found to be a really great accelerant of the value that we're trying to provide to more people. We have always made an investment in human-centeredness and putting people and trusted relationships at the center of all that we do. And boy, that found it not only its test, but the answer to that test, that human beings want to be in relationship with other human beings.
Penny, that's really interesting and really powerful. And the fact that you set guidelines and empowered your leadership just really does exemplify what you're saying about how human-centered, people-centered, to empower your leadership to actually implement what was needed during this time period in terms of connecting within the company as well as outside the company with your 8 million clients, and relying, and the information also, we're still seeing that now, struggling with information as to what does this phase of the pandemic mean, and we're never going to have accurate information. All very interesting and important principles that you undertook and direction. So I'd like to turn to the social justice movement, because Edwards Jones is, as you said, a purpose-driven organization, but a purpose-driven organization particularly focused on communities and developing communities. And so you were leading also through the crisis that happened after George Floyd's killing, and leading an organization that considered that as one of its principal guideposts in terms of dealing with communities. So can you share some of the initiatives that you undertook to address these issues, both within Edward Jones, among the team colleagues, as well as in the communities that you serve?
Sure. And I'll go right back, Lori, to our purpose statement: leave people in places better than we found them, improve the lives of our clients and colleagues, and together better our communities and society. We are a firm that operates at what I'll just call breathtaking scale. As you said, we have a brick and mortar location in 2/3 of the counties of the US, and we have a client in every county but one in the United States and all 10 provinces in Canada. And so from a real place of humility, but real authenticity, it invites us to be part of every community and consider what those communities value and need. And it's the community of our clients as well as the community of our colleagues. When we were going through and continue to go through these anxious times, we really, with empathy, look to those communities for guidance about where we ought to focus. And our focus to improve people's lives is really centered on financial strength. It's centered on health and well-being, and it's centered on inclusive economic growth and access to financial markets. And so that's why we did a number of the things that we did in 20 and 21 in particular. For example, in the middle of 2020, we made a 5-part commitment to becoming an even more diverse, equitable, and inclusive organization. Things like giving everyone a voice, equitable hiring, training, and promotional practices, ensuring that they are. Commitment to equitable pay, to doing a study, and to making changes if we found that those needed to be made. Racial equity and anti-racism training, and supporting organizations in our communities that were focused on more equity, more diversity, and more inclusion. In 2021, we set out a set of representation goals for our financial advisors, as well as for our home office leaders and our general partners. We are pursuing those goals. We set those goals knowing that we would have to shift some practices in order to meet them by 2025, and we are on our way. We made a bigger investment in business resource groups. These are now open to our entire 50,000 colleague enterprise. We have tough conversations in those BRGs. They are affinity groups. They are they invite people with particular affinities or particular demographics who want to get together to have really meaningful conversations about what that means. We've also invited tens of thousands of our colleagues to what we call courageous conversations. I've been on dozens of these. These are opportunities where 20 people to 200 people can get together and talk about our differences and how we utilize those differences to know more, to understand more, and to be more empathetic about people's lived experiences.
And it's becoming more and more important, these very valuable insights you're sharing as we continue to have disruptions, social disruptions within the United States, as decisions are coming from the Supreme Court that are dividing people's reactions. And so all very important lessons. You did have a little bit of a reprieve when the vaccine started rolling out, and we saw an upswing in terms of companies and businesses coming back, thinking we were emerging from the pandemic. And then the war in Ukraine broke out, causing a transformation, a global transformation that was unanticipated and is still unfolding before us. We've had further lockdowns in China, disrupting supply chains. The energy markets are incredibly disrupted, needless to say, with the sanctions reactions, and all fueling inflation, again, right in the center of everything that you're dealing with in terms of your clients, the Americans that you are and Canadians you are working with, having to figure out how to restructure their lives, their finances. What are the leadership tools that you were drawing on with this continued disruption, and how do you set priorities for the company in terms of what is now a major disruptions in terms of the U.S. economy and the global economy?
Well, one of the things that we do have to lean on is, as a 100-year-old firm, that as our commercial enterprise is all about helping millions of people and families set goals and set in place a plan to achieve those goals. We say turn their life plan into a financial plan and work with clients multi-generationally. We now have worked with 6 or 7 generations of clients since 1922 when we were founded. And, you know, the lessons of history, this is not the only tumultuous period that our nation, our world, that people have been through. And so we have skills and empathy in guiding people through tumultuous times. I say that fundamentally our job is to relieve anxiety, to make sense of times like this. I say we were built for times like this. This is when we really earn our keep as financial advisors, as guides, to help people achieve what matters most to them. And so we look back to history to know that the times of tumult will pass, but we also have to move through them in really productive ways. And the productive ways that we do that is to put things in perspective, to put them in historical perspective, but also put things in into perspective and helping people take a long-term view. More and more, what we are seeking to do is to help people put things into perspective by having more civil dialogue, by being engaged more civically in our communities. That's why something that is so fundamental at Edward Jones, and that we were really basing our transformational journey on, is our hyper locality. The fact that we are in so many thousands of communities, and the hyper personalization with which we serve our clients. We serve each one of them person by person, family by family, according to their needs. And so our journey is to be able to do that in an even better way, a more effective way, a way that combines investment management and wealth management and relationship management with practice management for our nearly 20,000 financial advisors across North America, so that they can have this kind of impact, human being by human being, but also at vast scale. That's how we see operating against that ambitious statement of improving the lives of our clients and our colleagues, and together bettering our communities and therefore society.
And on the corporate responsibility side, in terms of bettering communities, you're also doing fantastic and meaningful work in terms of financial literacy. Across generations, and particularly with the younger generations, in terms of how to prepare for not only dealing with a normal course of financial challenges so that you could actually prosper in the society, but also, as you said, navigate these tremendous upheavals we're going through. So turning to your actual, the role as CEO, right now it's being debated and criticism on one side that CEOs should not be involved in social issues, arguments on the other side that sort of run the whole range of spectrum of what that level of involvement should be. Particularly in the public square and on society's biggest challenges. So how do you decide what issues to actually weigh in on?
Well, it's an active body of research and language and real life experience that's happening right now, isn't it? Lori, I really feel that business has some fundamental tools that we have always employed that business is rewarded for. Business is rewarded for growth and innovation and good ideas. Business needs a vibrant economy. It needs educated people. We hire and employ people. We buy goods and services, and we get our license to operate. I'll say that very broadly. We get our license to operate from doing a good job for all the stakeholders that look in on who we are and what we do. Now, those are shareholders for many companies. Our company is a private partnership. We own ourselves. We have tens of thousands of owners of our private partnership. And so we are in control of our own destiny. And so we look to our owners as a set of stakeholders. Obviously, we looked at our 8 million clients as stakeholders, our 50,000 colleagues as stakeholders, our regulators and policymakers, everyone who is part of the ecosystem of our vibrant 100-year-old business is a stakeholder. And we know, as a company that has worked with fine companies making good investments over time, that fundamental success is achieved when you have a long-term view as a company, when you have a long-term view, when you're focused on growth and innovation, and when you're focused on the needs of a multi-stakeholder ecosystem. And so our role, we believe, in pursuing our purpose to improve the lives of our clients and colleagues and together better our communities and society, is to know where we can make a difference. We have chosen 3 primary areas where we know that we have the competencies, the capabilities, and frankly, it intersects with who we are commercially, that we are partnering for greater financial strength, that we are advancing healthier futures, and that we are investing in a more equitable and inclusive economic system. We know that when Edward Jones is a part of that, we can use our special skills and competencies. And frankly, the public marketplace would expect us to be in those places. We're not going to be in all places that deserve attention right now. We're going to count on other people with skills and a purpose-driven mindset to be in those places where they can most make an impact. We believe that these are the three areas where we can, and those are the areas that our strategy is built around, that we are innovating around, and that we want to be held accountable for improving clients, colleagues, communities, and society. That's how we think about it.
And as you said, it's this leadership, this purpose-driven approach is so important to Americans. We are really, polling data is showing that our society is really turning towards to business and business leaders as the most trusted leaders, right up there with our military leaders. In terms of who to believe, who are speaking empathetically and are speaking truth to them. So all very, very important. Which actually gets me to my final question, which about your own role models. I mean, you're in an extremely important leadership role, and you have been a leader even prior to your current position. Who would you say were the most important leadership role models that helped shape your values?
Well, I'm a student of great leadership, and I look for great examples, as well as examples that might have shown their human frailty from time to time, because there's tremendous learning that comes from the times that we stumble as leaders, and I certainly have. Two leaders that I look to and I count on are my parents. My parents were both executives in two different organizations. I grew up in Nashville, and watching their the way that they learned and grew through their own leadership, the integrity and character that they counted on in themselves, at the same time growing in their role and responsibility, but also their own sense of purpose. And the way that they exhibited that, handed it to my sister and me, showed that in our community, in our church, in all the ways that they were involved. I really look to that as character-led, high integrity, purpose-driven leadership over the decades. And then watching leaders today, being in a vigorous conversation with peer CEOs today about where we can help, what we can do, what society and our communities and our colleagues, the talented people that we employ, and our clients, investors, our customers need from us. It's a period of such growth. And I think that I'm not counting on everything to return to normal. That's not what this is about, but instead to invigorate a new kind of leadership, a new sort of leadership playbook that really can make a meaningful difference for more people and help to solve some of the thorny issues that face us today.
Well, Penny, thank you so much. And we are very much looking forward to seeing you in October and celebrating with representatives of your team. It is truly our privilege to be honoring you and Edward Jones this year. The leadership from you and your team is absolutely outstanding and inspirational. And what's also so powerful about it is the fact that you are celebrating your 100th year as a company. And it's very hard giving, you actually started as a company after as we were emerging from World War I, and
a pandemic, a global pandemic,
and World War II, and the Depression, and all of the transitions that we dealt with the collapse of the Soviet Union and an entire different economy, and now these tremendous disruptions. So Edward Jones is inspirational, And your leadership during these extremely disruptive years is really sets a standard and excellent examples and role models for how to deal in challenging times and be responsive, purpose-driven, and help the nation, not only your clients, but actually help the nation and the global community move forward out of and navigate these challenges. So thank you so much. We're looking forward to seeing you in person in October and celebrating with your team as well. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Lori. It's a pleasure and a privilege.